It is the middle of the summer. August is almost here. And if you're starting law school this fall, you may be asking yourself, what am I supposed to be doing to prepare? How am I supposed to be getting ready for my first year of law school? If you have that question, this video is for you. My name is Alice Foley, and I'm an associate law school consultant with Montgomery Admissions Consulting, where we specialize in first-generation and minority law school application support. I come to Montgomery Admissions Consulting with almost a decade's worth of law school admissions experience. I have done everything from answer the phones to talk with prospective students. Sometimes I was even the very first contact someone had with the law school that I worked for. But most importantly for this video, I also went to law school. I remember what this summer is like. I remember being confused and hearing so many different options for things that I should absolutely be doing to prepare myself for law school. So in this video, we're going to cover three pretty important things. First, we're going to cover things that you probably should do. We're going to cover some things that you absolutely should not do. And then I'm going to let you in on the secret to make sure that you are absolutely the most prepared student. I want to throw a big old asterisk out here because there are a lot of things like this out on the internet. I know, there are lots of them. I looked at a lot of them before I started law school, and a lot of them are very different. Everyone's going to have some different advice, and I recognize that the irony is that I'm adding to that. But I promise the things in this video are going to be helpful. So we're going to start with the things that you should be doing. And these can be broken up into three main categories. So you're going to have life stuff, you're going to have school stuff, and you're going to have support stuff. We'll start with life stuff. Life is all of the stuff that happens outside of the law school building. It's the things that aren't related to what you're going to be doing in law school. And for our purposes right now, there are three things that you should really focus on. Number one, make sure you've got your housing squared away. If you are having to move to attend law school, make sure that you know when your lease starts. I can remember several years in both of the places that I worked where we would have students caught 2 days before orientation and their lease doesn't start for another week. So while they may be making it through and get moved in before classes start, they're kind of trying to figure it out, whether it's staying at a hotel or staying with friends or even staying with some of their new classmates. They don't have a place that is theirs for orientation. Don't be that person. Make sure you're absolutely double checking those dates. A lot of college towns particularly run their leases tied to the academic calendar, and yours is going to be just a little different. If you're not sure, ask your landlord. If you're not sure, make sure you know when your closing date is. Make sure you know when all of those things are because you want to be settled and comfortable by the time you start orientation and by the time you are starting law school. The next thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is getting your finances in order. This can mean something different for pretty much everybody, but at the end of the day, law school is taking you away from either the job that you've been relying on up to now, or you are getting ready to work on a single income instead of two, or you're planning to not have a job at all, and that's okay too, and to live off of loans at least for the first year of law school. And what that means is that your financial situation might be a little bit different than it was before you started law school. That's okay. Just make sure that you're keeping it in mind as you begin law school and you're starting to prepare for that. The very last thing that you should be focusing on in the life category is trying to identify and integrate the things that make you happy, the things that relax you, and the things that bring you joy. I realize that sounds kind of cliche, but law school is going to take up a lot of your attention, and the earlier that you can build in habits for the things that make you happy, that de-stress you, that give you time to reconnect with yourself is going to be really key, because after a really long week where you've read a bajillion pages and you've got an 8-page memo due and you're not sure when you're supposed to do everything, being able to say, I'm going to take 20 minutes and I'm just going to go sit in the sun because that's what brings me joy. It's going to make a world of difference. And if that's part of your everyday routine, it's a lot harder to let it go when you start law school. Next up on things to do is your school stuff. This one should be pretty obvious. It's the things that relate directly to law school. First thing that you want to do is make sure that you're paying attention to those requirements that come from the admissions office. There are going to be a couple of things that you need to do throughout the summer before you start in order to make sure that your matriculation goes smoothly. The normal things, you make sure that you pay your seat deposits. By now you probably should have paid both of them if there were two, but that should be done. The next thing that you want to do is make sure that your school has a copy of your official transcript that has your bachelor's degree on it. I know you probably sent one to LSAC, but often your law school will also need a copy for their records. I think it's silly too, but if it's a requirement, make sure that you've sent it. Make sure that you've sent an official transcript to the law school that you are matriculating if it is a requirement that they have. And the last one is pretty straightforward. I'm going to need you to make sure that you've enrolled in your classes. Someone, probably either from admissions or academic success or student life, at some point in time, usually in late June, mid-July, is going to send you a list of the classes that are going to be yours come the fall. Some schools will enroll for you. They just send you your schedule and that is what it is. Some schools will send you the course information and expect you to do it on your own. Either way, make sure that you are enrolled in your classes. That's going to be really helpful when it comes time for you to buy your books and stuff. The next one's a lot more fun. Check out your new school. If there are official tours, if there have been events over the summer and you haven't attended yet, please try to make time to attend one. If you are getting settled into your new home and the law school is not far away, call admissions, call somebody, see if the building is open, see if you can just go check it out. Even better, see if there's someone there that can give you a tour. Tours of law school buildings are often part of orientation for the students that can't get in there beforehand. And I'm here to tell you from experience, your brain is going to be so full of other information that you are not going to remember where your classrooms are. You are not going to remember where the closest bathroom when you have that 10-minute break between classes is. You're not going to remember where that stuff is because you are too busy trying to cram everything else into your brain. And as someone who may or may not have walked into the wrong classroom a couple of different times during her first year, having kind of a handle on it at best before you even start is going to make your life a lot less stressful. It's not fun to be the 1L that wanders into a 3L class. And the last thing is also fun. Try and make some friends with your classmates. A lot of admissions offices run some kind of platform, whether it's Facebook or a WhatsApp or a GroupMe or something along those lines, that will give you access to your classmates. Sometimes even access to upperclassmen students. If you are new to town, find a local that's going to law school and let them give you all of the cool places in town that, new folks don't always see. If you are stuck and you need help moving, your classmates can be a great resource. And, as long as you do, food and some kind of beverage afterwards, most folks are willing to help. If you have access to something outdoorsy or something that your town is well known for, it's a lot more fun to do those things with friends. And you're going to be spending a lot of time with these folks in the next 3 years, particularly in the first year. And it's just going to make life a lot easier. You're going to have a lot more opportunity to have fun if you're starting to make those friends before orientation. The last piece of this is support, your support stuff. And what this means broadly is your support system, your friends, your family, all of those people that help build you up when you're having a bad day, or the people that make sure that you are, remembering to eat, or the folks that are sending you care packages. And checking in with them before you start law school is really helpful because while it is just another academic program, especially in the very first semester, it is really easy to get caught up in law school. So all of a sudden things and people that are important and that you have made time for in the past may not have as much time available. So what you want to do, first things first, talk to your partner and your children. If you are a parent, if you have a significant other that you are sharing a house with, or something along those lines, have a chat with them. See how this is going to change your relationship. And it doesn't have to change it for the worse by any means, but having a talk before it all starts and saying, this might happen, or I just got my class schedule and this is what it's going to look like. I know I've had students in the past that the plan was, because they had children and were settled in a town that is not close to where our law school was, they decided that the best thing for them was that the partner that was in law school was going to move to the town where the law school was and would come home on the weekends. They were in a position where they could support an apartment in town, and that's what worked for them. If there was a short week, they got to go home earlier. If, classes ended at, noon on a Friday, they could get 2.5 days with their family, and they'd still have time to be with them, but also they could be in the city near their classmates, near their school, in the event that there's weather, or in the event that they need quiet to focus. And that's what worked for them. Other families have moved everybody to the town where the law school is. And it's important because family is such a huge part of that particular set of folks' priorities. If you don't want to say goodbye to your partner, or if you have children, you don't want to say goodbye to your children, that's okay too. But having a conversation about what life in law school is going to look like is going to be really, really helpful. And it's a lot easier to have that conversation before things get kind of hectic. The next thing is that you want to talk to your family. I don't know about you, but my family were very excited when I applied to law school and when I got into law school and when I started law school. And then they realized that law school meant that I wasn't always coming home, that I wasn't visiting as often, that I didn't call back as quickly, because I was just caught up in what I was doing at law school. And it's not because I didn't love them any less, it's not because they were any less important, it was just what it was right in front of me. And my very first chance to go home, I had a lot of, so are we Do we still matter? And I think some of it was joking, but it's a valid question. If you have been super present in the family group chat, or you come home every weekend, or you're living at home right now, making sure that they understand that that may not be what's going on, at least for the first little while. Once you adjust to law school, it becomes a lot easier to find time and to pull your focus. But initially, it's really, really easy to get caught up and get lost. The last thing is talk to your friends. Depending on where you're going to law school, what stage in life you are, you may find that you don't necessarily have enough time, or your finances are not going to support being present at friend activities like you used to be. That's okay. Again, it doesn't mean the friendships have to end, but giving them a heads up on the front end just makes it easier. And honestly, at minimum, I need you to tell all of these people that you are learning basically a new language for the first year of law school, and to not really be surprised if when they ask you what you're learning or how it's going, you start talking and you just are completely incomprehensible. It's okay. The folks at law school know exactly what you're talking about. Your classmates know exactly what you're talking about. You're going to be able to use that language with them. But unless you have lawyers in your family, it's going to sound like nonsense. And that's, again, it's okay. Sometimes it's really funny, but giving them the heads up, it's always nice. On to the things that you shouldn't do. I need you to promise yourself and to promise me that you will not, under any circumstances, start reading your casebooks before you get your assignments. Before orientation begins, at this point, you do not know how to read them correctly. If you think you're going to get ahead, you're not. You are more than likely going to pick up bad habits that you will have to unlearn after you start law school and have learned to read these cases. Do not do it if you absolutely must find something to read. Pick nonfiction, always a good choice for this particular exercise. Pick something that's dry, and pick something that's long, because long, non-fictional, and dry are a pretty good descriptor of a lot of the early cases that you'll be reading. Some of them are really interesting, don't get me wrong. And when you're picking out whatever book meets this criteria, it doesn't have to be something that you're completely uninterested in by any means, but something that's very academic, something that's going to be dense, something that's going to push your reading ability is good. It's good practice. The next thing I need you to promise me you're not going to do is to go out and buy like 70 how to law school books. There are lots of them, and all of them are probably going to say some different things. And that's fine. And I'm sure that they are helpful, but you don't need all of them. Pick one. If there's one that a friend has recommended that has gone to law school. If your law school recommends a particular book, go for that. And again, if you are hurting for something to read, go find some nonfiction. Or read something super silly. Read the books that bring you joy. Read the books that don't take a lot of brain power. Because once law school starts, you're going to be stuck reading your case books, and that doesn't always leave a lot of time for pleasure reading. So if that's something that's important to you, do a lot of it over the summer. Finally, don't panic. At some point in time during the summer, you are probably going to start thinking, I've made a terrible mistake. You haven't. You are going to think, I am completely unprepared for this. You aren't. You are going to hear, or you're going to read on the internet, probably Reddit, that someone else has this foolproof plan and it's worked for other people and that's the way that they're getting ahead, and it is completely different from the thing that you are doing. That's all right. There are lots of different ways to prepare for law school. Stressing out about all of the different ways to prepare for law school is not going to serve you well. You, at this point, have made it through K-12 education. You've made it successfully through college. You have successfully completed the law school application process and have been admitted and are planning to enroll in a law school. You are not unprepared. And by now, you should have a pretty good idea about how you do school. And yes, law school can be a little different. A lot different. And it's gonna have a learning curve, and it might sound and seem really difficult and really tough, and sometimes maybe even insurmountable at the beginning. But it isn't. And when the admissions committee extended the offer of admissions to you, they believed that you could do it also. So the last thing I said I was going to tell you is the secret to making sure that you are the absolutely most best prepared first year student. And it's basically what I just told you. Listen to your body, listen to yourself. You know what works for you. If running every morning is important and that is like vital for you being a human that is easy to deal with, or a human that can function in the world, make sure you make time for that run. If you at this point have no idea how to cook any kind of food, that's all right. I know people like that. It's fine. They have survived perfectly healthily up till now. Make a plan for how you're going to feed yourself. Back in the support systems, ask your friends and family to send you DoorDash cards or Uber Eats cards or even care packages. But you know what works for you. And there are lots and lots and lots of advice articles and videos, and yes, I do see the irony, but you know what works for you. Take the time to trust yourself. So we covered a lot, and to wrap everything up, do make sure that things are in order in your life stuff, in your school stuff, and in your support stuff. Do not read your case books. Do not buy every How to Law School book. Do not panic. If you think that this video is helpful, if you know somebody that's starting law school in the fall and is having that panic moment, share this video. If it was helpful to you, please like and subscribe. Talk soon.